we don't think that hair is connected to that, but it absolutely is. If we feel good about ourselves, we're able to express ourselves in a way that we may not have been able to do if we didn't have that confidence, right? And so just to be able to see them holding their heads high, being proud, and not only that, being able to take care of their own hair, right? There's a sense of accomplishment in that.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michaela Pereira, your host. I am an adoptee. In fact, my whole family is formed through adoption. All 5 girls in my family were transracially adopted. I'm biracial, Black on the paternal side, white on the maternal. So my mom, Ainsley, had a time doing my hair when I was little, growing up in the 1970s in rural Saskatchewan, Canada. What we both would have given to have someone like my guest today show us how to work with these curls. Tamekia Swint, the founder and executive director of Styles4Kidz, a nonprofit she formed to help people like my parents, help educate and train parents of transracially adopted or fostered kids on the textured hair care. It's so important. This angel on earth joins me now. Hey, girlfriend, how are you?
Good. How are you, Michaela? Thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with something. Look at this. Do you see that picture?
Oh my goodness. How precious is that?
So for those that are listening to the show on a podcast, I'm showing a picture from when I was probably 5 years old. And this hair, my mom didn't know what to do with it, and she did her best. I want to talk to you about why this all came to be. And we'll talk about that little girl and why you would have mattered to her. You started this organization, if I get this right, following an experience you had on a mission trip to Poland.
Matter of fact, I was challenged by a friend of mine to go on this mission trip. I was really kind of in a season of my life where I was looking for purpose. And I had a job, but I really just wasn't fulfilled in what I was doing. And so I had the opportunity to go to Poland to teach at an English language camp, a group of youth for the summer. And during that time, I was challenged by one of the instructors there to teach an elective class to help the children work on their English even more, right? And I've always loved to do hair. And so I decided to teach a hair braiding class. And to my surprise, I had about 7 students show up ready to learn. And during that time, I really just discovered my love again for hair and the gift that I had to teach others how to do it.
How did you get to the point that you finish your mission trip, you come back?
Yeah.
You're working, I believe, you're working in the insurance sector.
Yes.
How did you translate that to helping people here stateside?
Yeah, well, what happened was I met a transracial adoptive mom in my local community who had adopted 2 African American girls, and she was desperately in need of help. And I always say, like, nothing could have ever prepared me for that moment when I met Mary and her girls. And I just remember the sense of desperation and the lack of hope that existed in that situation.
Because I can imagine this mother is thinking, these 2 children are in my care. I need to set them up for life. I need to show them how to live and how to be. I'm a white woman who does not know how to do these Black children's hair. I can't send them out in the world like this.
Absolutely. And just to think of, Anaya, who was at that time wearing a hood over her head and just really not wanting anyone to see what her hair looked like.
Oh my goodness, that's heartbreaking.
That image of seeing those girls that day have literally held me to where I am today, right? Just desperately trying to create a solution for families that need help, training, support, services, and community.
Okay, so you help Mary and her girls.
Yes.
And then going from that to where you are now is which we'll get to in a minute, because you have grown over these years. So did it sort of catch like wildfire that one family saw that what you were doing, and she told a friend and they told a friend? Did it just grow that way?
Yes, I remember one of the second or third clients that I helped, they actually saw Mary and her girls at the neighborhood pool. And they literally ran her down and said, "We know you didn't do this hair. Who
This is
did
amazing.
this?" And she gave them my information. And I'm telling you, we just have become a very strong community. And even those families are still participating in the mission and wanting to be a part of the solution to help grow these communities of people that are helping families.
Can I just tell you, one of my favorite things in life is this very thing, talking to people who see a need, who see a problem, who see a gap, and say, I'm going to fill that gap. I'm going to solve for this. I'm going to find a solution to this problem. And that's exactly what you've done. So you, obviously at some point the light bulb clicks on, insurance lady, that you could be doing more. How, because this is the part that often stories get over, like we gloss over, because that doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. And it was a lot of sacrifice just building these relationships with families and their children, right? Who really needed this service and also the support. And also looking for people who wanted to really help and be involved in the organization. And it really does take time.
And it takes partnerships, and it takes relationships, and it takes time. So you originally were just working with girls, and then you realized that boys needed support too, and the families that were raising young Black boys needed this support in such a big way. I think this is an important point to make. This is, and we've talked about it a little bit at the beginning, this is more than just hair care. There's more to this for these kids and for these parents. It's because it's these two paths run beside each other and are congruent.
Yes, they are. And parents, they're looking for a place where they can have these or create these cultural connections, right, for their kids, because a lot of them are growing up in communities where no one looks like them. And so, where do I go not only for the resources and the support, but also the cultural connection that my child needs that's helping them to develop a healthy identity?
Look, my mom often says that she wished that in the small towns, that this little girl, I'm going to show you a picture right now. This little girl right here, this is me
So
at,
precious.
for those of you that are listening to this podcast and not seeing the show on YouTube, we encourage you to go. We'll also post this on my socials. It's a picture of me probably at around age 5. And my mother did not know what to do with my hair. And granted, puberty hadn't hit yet. So my curls were a lot smaller and it was a lot finer. But I
Yes.
just was like a little puffball.
Yes, you still had a lot of hair, girl.
I still had a lot of hair. But I
Yeah.
think about the fact that my mom wished that she had, a Jamaican auntie that was nearby that could have taught
Yes.
me some things about that part of my culture and my heritage and my identity. And
Yeah.
I tell her now that was my responsibility as an adult to go out and explore that. And I have, I have
Yeah.
spent all of my adult life doing that. But you're giving this to these families at such an important phase of their life, right?
Yeah,
Early
absolutely.
on. So they grow up with this.
Absolutely. We have some kids that came to us like when they were 2 and 3 years old, and now they're in middle school and high school, and just talking about having this sense of community, even in the salon, seeing kids and other families that look like theirs, right? They're not alone in this. And also being able to bring other African American families around them in support. It's essential to have these relationships as transracial, adoptive, and foster families who are really just trying to make sense of the world around them for their kids.
I know that one truism for adopted kids and foster kids is that there's just a longing to belong, right? To fit in. And if you don't feel like you fit in because your hair doesn't look like everybody else's in your community, that you stand out because your edges aren't handled, and it can be a lot.
And it creates a sense of isolation, right? Like I'm alone, I'm by myself. And the thoughts, right, that come along with that sometimes can leave a child feeling less confident, right, in their abilities. And that affects everything. It affects your grades in school, it affects your peer groups. It affects the mental health of many of the kids that we're caring for every day. So I just really feel like this is a community that needs more support and it needs more growth in communities around the United States.
Well, and that's the thing. You grew beyond your city, you grew beyond your state of Illinois. You are now reaching families across America. And is it true that you even have some reach internationally?
Yes, we actually have touched families in over 3 countries now. So that's exciting.
I think it's incredible, and not only that, part of your outreach has also extended to residential facilities for foster kids or helping children that have special needs who have textured hair. So I can see that you continue to not sleep and come up with more ideas about how you can grow.
Yes, most definitely. And especially having a community of support for our parents, right? Because a lot of them don't really have a support system. And we encourage parents to be intentional about developing those relationships. And so we've launched our parent advocacy groups now. And we have actually launched a group here in Chicago, and we're launching a group in DC over the next couple of weeks. And we want to have these communities be places that parents can come to get resources, to get support, to get training, and to build that sense of community and culture for themselves and also for their children.
And maybe hair care is the center of the wheel, but I imagine there's all sorts of other, when you create community, there's no telling all the ways that people are opening their hearts to have conversations, especially about race, which is so critical at a time like this in our nation.
Absolutely. And many of our families are dealing with situations because they are white that where they don't know how to handle these situations. And so if I can have that community to come together and say, okay, this is what I'm facing this week. What should I do? And we can give them practical help and answers to those questions in a way that looks loving and helpful is so important and essential to our mission. But hair, of course, is at the core of it.
But isn't that interesting? Because I think about even like, and anybody that's listening or watching can relate to this about how, like, my hairdresser is part therapist and life coach. But honestly, that's what you're also doing, right? You're
Yes.
also you're making this safe space, whether it is online, whether they're physical communities. Because I know you actually have a salon where people
Yes.
come and they bring their kids and they bring their families. But
Yes.
you're creating these safe spaces where
Yes.
this dialogue can happen.
Yeah, where it can take place, where parents can bring real questions, right? And have those questions answered in a way that is non judgmental. I think that's one of the things that, based on the feedback that families have given us, is that, I feel judged or, I feel ridiculed. And so we want to create that safe space because this is how our parents really get help.
And for you, it goes your education work and the work you're doing there online and in the community. It also it's advocacy as well. I know that you have been highlighting the importance of the Crown Act. For those that don't know what Crown stands for, it stands for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, created in 2019 to ensure protection against discrimination. And this is not to get political, but this is really about ensuring protection from discrimination for anybody with textured hair.
Absolutely. And as a Black woman, I have endured workplace discrimination for my hair. And I can say that this bill is so important, right? And it's important to continue supporting all of the legislation that is occurring around the Crown Act, as well as any other bills or initiatives or push around discrimination, not only in the workplace, but in our schools, especially for our kids who are wearing cultural hairstyles that are allowing them to represent their cultural identity in the world. And so they should be able to do that in a safe way where they can express themselves and not be judged for it.
You've been just all over the place. You've been
Yes.
in DC. I want you, I don't even know how much time you spend in your home these days. I'd
Yeah.
like to tell folks about the trip you took to DC. I understand you took like 50 kids and their families to DC.
Yeah, so we recently did a hair care workshop in partnership with Case, which is an agency there in DC. And we went and we taught the parents how to do their kids' hair. And I'm telling you, these classes, there is nothing like it. To see kids walk in one way and to walk out with their heads held high and totally confident, feeling even reassured in their parents' ability to be able to manage their texture hair and having a newfound confidence in that. And so we're creating these positive hair bonding experiences between parents and children that are just unbelievable.
And those smiles on their faces is the gas
Yes,
in the tank, isn't
that
it?
is the best part.
I want you to also tell people a little bit about continuing some of the active work that you're doing, because you're not just braiding, you're not just in the salon giving some
No.
counsel or education, you're also out there spreading news. Tell us about what's happening in Springfield, Illinois, and the DCFS.
Yeah, I was really excited to talk with the group that is working on the bill that is, as far as I know now, has been passed. And that bill was started by a group of foster youth who advocated for themselves to receive what is due. And what is due is the opportunity for their parents to have a hair care plan and holding them accountable, right, to having that plan so that they can go to school looking good and feeling good about themselves. And I'm so proud of them and their tenacity, their boldness, their willingness to speak on behalf of themselves and all the other children who are represented in foster care here in Illinois, to make people aware of the reality that exists. And the reality that exists is that their needs are not being addressed, particularly with their hair. And so had the opportunity to speak with the young ladies who have been working on the bill at Loyola here, University in Chicago, and had the opportunity to participate and sign the bill as an organization that we support this bill. We support their efforts, and we are here to be part of the solution, to make sure that what they're advocating for comes to fruition.
Oh, it's really exciting to see when young people are able to, especially foster youth who have, look, let's be honest, oftentimes foster youth are in foster care because the adults in the situation have failed them, right? And
Absolutely.
and to see them sort of say, okay, that's all well and good. Where I
Yeah,
go in life doesn't have to be determined where I started in life. I'm going to
absolutely.
stand up and speak for myself. I'm going to advocate for other foster youth as well. There's nothing more powerful when a kid can overcome that kind of trauma to be able to do it. Not always it's not always easy. It's difficult for most, but
Yeah.
kudos to them. Listen, I know that these kids stick with you. I know the type of heart you have. We've we've
Yes.
had a chance to get to know each other a little bit. I can imagine on occasion one of the kids
Mhm.
that you helped years ago has come
Yeah.
back in to say hello. Tell me a story
Yes.
about how that feels.
It feels amazing to know the difference that I had in someone's life. And, sometimes we can't see it right when it's happening, but to be able to see the long term effect of how Styles for Kids had on them and their hair, their confidence, their ability to even be able to speak up for themselves and voice their opinions on things that matter. Like, we don't think that hair is connected to that, but it absolutely is. If we feel good about ourselves, we're able to express ourselves in a way that we may not have been able to do if we didn't have that confidence, right? And so just to be able to see them holding their heads high, being proud, and not only that, being able to take care of their own hair, right? There's a sense of accomplishment in that.
Sure is.
Yes. And so just seeing them go to college, and I'm thinking of one young lady in particular. She's in college now, and she knows how to go to the salon and say what she wants to have done to her hair. All of the things that we kind of take for granted because maybe her parents didn't know that, but we were able to show her that and give her confidence in that. And so she's flourishing.
You are an auntie to about 1,010 children, aren't you?
I am. And they know me as Miss Tamekia.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love Tamekia. Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
can I just tell you, it just warms the chambers of my little brown heart because
Yes.
I know what it means to have someone reach out a hand to say I'm here to help and not do it
Yes.
in judgment, because I think that's something that a lot of kids feel shame. A lot of parents adoptive parents, transracial adoptive parents might feel a level of shame, and you're putting all of that to the side and saying I'm here to help. Tamika, that is
Absolutely.
just, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And it's nothing to be ashamed of. Adoption and fostering are beautiful things that can happen to any family that decides to take that path. And so we're walking alongside those families saying, you can do it. And you don't have to be ashamed of what you don't know. You just have to get the information.
Yeah, all you have to do is say, "Hey, I need a hand," and the hand will be there. All right, so what can people do? How can they help? How can they support? How can they find out more about Styles for Kids?
Yes, please go to our website. We're at Styles for Kids. That's Styles with an S, the number four, KIDZ. .org, and you can learn more about our resources. You can learn more about all of our programming that we have for children and for parents. And if you know someone who needs our program, please tell them about our online training. Tell them about our workshops. Tell them about the salon if you're in Chicago. Like, we're here and we want to be a support for every family out there who needs it in whatever way that we can. So please just spread the word. We need everybody telling everybody about
We
Styles
need
for Kids.
everybody telling everybody. That's what we do. We just broadcast it out there, and we
Yes,
don't gatekeep. We help out the next generation,
yes,
as others have helped us out. Tamika, it's been great to see you, my darling. You keep on
yes,
doing your thing. I'm over here cheering for you. If you
yes.
ever need me, all you have to do is just holler. Thanks so much for
Okay.
joining me on the show today.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you're doing too.
Bless you, sis. Bless you. And for those of you tuning in, thanks so much for being here. I hope you found this conversation enlightening, educational, and just good for your heart. We'll see you again next time.